Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. Today, I have Jill Brand with me. She is a part of the Pvolve team. Before I introduce her, though, I want to introduce what Pvolve is if you're not familiar. So, it is a workout that focuses on everyday movement, functional movement, and it's meant to build strength. I'm so excited. This is a huge brand. I don't know if you remember Jennifer Aniston on a recent collaboration with them. I do. So we have Jill Brand with us here, who is the head of brand and creative. Jill Brand, head of brand. Do you get that a lot, Jill?
Only every day, five
Okay.
times a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. She is an expert in marketing. She has a background in franchise marketing. She's been with Pvolve for, you said about 5 years
Yeah,
or?
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years. And she also has a background working with Equinox, which everybody knows what Equinox is. So thank you, Jill, for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? I didn't want to go too much into it because I thought it would be more interesting coming from you. But how did you get into franchise marketing and like gyms? Because I find it so interesting. I don't know if you know Alex Hermosi. Bridget's a massive fan. He's known for, building wealth through one of the big like gym franchises. So I'd love to just hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. So, my first job out of school was actually at an experiential marketing agency. So, to say it was a grind would be an understatement. So, I think that taught me a lot about grit. And then from there, moved to Equinox, where I really kind of learned like the business of fitness. What's interesting about Equinox is it's not a franchise. Everything operates, it's all owned and operated. The 120 plus gym locations are all owned and operated, but their owners really truly act, excuse me, their general managers kind of act like owners. They're so really invested in the business. The team there has done a really good job of training their team to act as though they're owners and operators, which is really cool. And I would say what I learned at Equinox was a couple things. One, I really learned about the power of brand. I mean, when you think like best in class brands, like I definitely think Equinox has really stood the test of time there. You know, luxury fitness is something they created that idea. Now it's almost commonplace, but they really created this idea of bringing together luxury, hospitality, and fitness. The second thing I really learned there was the power of local marketing because it's really fine and dandy to have this amazingly compelling, beautiful brand. But at the end of the day, it's butts and seats, right? Like you got to get people in
Yeah.
the door. And so, like, how do you use the power of this big, sexy brand and how do you really localize it to make it relevant to the person in Lincoln Park in Chicago or in Greenwich, Connecticut, or, in Palm Beach in Florida, et cetera. So I learned a lot about local marketing there. I spent about 4.5 years at Equinox. And then in COVID, jumped ship to Pvolve, which is, really an omni-channel experience. In other words, it is both digitally native as well as brick and mortar, which today in a post-COVID world may seem like sort of like duh, but that really was something
Yeah.
people was doing pre-COVID, really understood the power of having both to complement one another. People are dynamic. People sometimes want to go in studio for a 55-minute class and have that socialization, but sometimes you just don't have the time, and the best you can do is 20 minutes in your basement, and we really kind of power that. So that's been my personal trajectory.
Yeah. I love that you said Palm Beach because I was looking up locations for Pvolve and I noticed one is in Palm Beach. I'm in South Florida. I was like,
Mhm.
ooh, I need to go in studio and experience this
Just
for myself.
opened. So we just opened there. It's a good one. You got to check it out.
My goodness, I definitely will. So I love that you were talking about the local markets and how to kind of like balance that. So can you tell us a little bit more about like maybe the different approaches where you do have a local studio, and you do need some marketing there, but also like what's the difference? Or maybe do you marry the two like in marketing campaigns when we're talking like a national brand where somebody can go onto, the apps or online and experience the brand versus going in studio?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's again really powerful about having both
Yeah.
is how they really do support one another, right? Like when we're marketing Pvolve, the brand holistically, that certainly has relevance and resonance locally. And then as we grow this brick and mortar business, we've got about 28 open locations today. We've got about 80 in development.
Wow.
That those are billboards for us, right, in local markets. And so the two really do support each other. I would say from a marketing perspective, tactically, the approaches are different. And even one market versus another market tactically looks kind of different. Um, and the power is really in like understanding the difference. Like we have a different approach for our urban locations than we do for our suburban locations. And we really partner very closely with our franchise owners because they truly are the expert to understand what's really going to move the needle at the local level. But like some things that are really kind of underpinnings for both is, when it comes to studio marketing, local marketing, it really is about being in the community. I think like paid, yes, like I think it's important to reserve, some dollars towards some paid marketing. But at the end of the day, it's really being in the community. It's knowing where is your customer? For us, she's, by and large, she's a woman, she's a bit more mature, she's got kids. So, who are the right group, or what are the right affiliations to be a part of, the right groups to be a part of? Who are the right, like, people in the know that you want to make sure you get through the door? And it is a word of mouth business. Deliver exceptional hospitality, deliver exceptional experience, deliver for us an exceptional workout, and she will tell her friends and bring her friends.
Yeah, I love that. You were just music to our ears. We just did a video on local PR. So at Visibility on Purpose and Visibility Hour, we talk a lot about organic PR, and how that can support your business. But there are local businesses that come to us sometimes and ask us, like, okay, what do you do if we're local, but we still want that like national recognition, but we still need people in the door? And we always say there's gonna be crossover. It's not like traditional PR. It's like you need to actually be a part of the community. You need to invite people in, go to like the local chapter meetings and all of those things and really understand your local market. So I love that you said that because I do think it's so, so important when there's any sort of like in-person component to a business.
For sure. And then like don't be afraid of the follow-up. She comes in, she takes class, find out what her Instagram handle is. DM her. You did so great in class. Oh my God, when are we getting you back in the door? You like make sure to bring your friends. We loved having you. Like don't be afraid of that. And don't be afraid also of sometimes giving some things away for free. Like if there is someone who is incredibly influential locally, get them in the door, invite them in for a complimentary experience class, whatever the case is. And then with the follow-up, make sure, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see your posts on social. It'd be great if you could hit these 3 points. Ask for what you want. So don't be afraid of that.
That's so good. Okay, so that brings me to my next question of like, what are different approaches that business owners can take, or what did Pvolve take, maybe in your experience being there, that was really organic, that kind of moved the needle? I think you like answered some of them already, but like, asking for what you need, which I think is, or what you want, which I think is really cool. But even in like PR, a lot of PR is like, just throwing out the ask and like seeing what happens. So many people will come to us and be like, well, I can't pitch like the New York Times. Like, who am I? And I'm like, why not? You might be exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we do a lot is we host like special classes for media and for influencers, invite them in and offer like some sort of special experience afterwards. So that's something we do a lot of. And in the beginning for us, the thing that really did put us on the map actually was like organic PR, earned media. We had a very scrappy PR person and we just hustled. And we have our one of our signature products that we launched with is called the P-ball. And it sits between, I know I'm going bespoke here. This isn't necessarily relevant to everyone, although like find your own way in. For us, it was this P-ball, which is arresting. It sits right like basically in your crotch. And so it's a pretty intense visual. And we were very bold with that visual and use that to draw in influencers and media. And it kind of became a bit viral. So figure out your niche, figure out, what's distinct about the product that you're offering and go hard at it.
Yeah, that's so great. So when we're thinking about like what our niche is, or like we always like to call it the like differentiators or like your unique, your
Mhm.
unique
Or USP, your unique
perspective.
selling person. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, your unique selling perspective. So, what would you give somebody advice who's like maybe listening, who's a small business owner? We have business owners, we have quite a range actually that listen to the podcast. We have some that are like year 1 to 5. They do a lot of like online services. Maybe they're like a psychologist, a health practitioner of some kind. And then we do have some like team members of bigger brands that come in and take our courses and kind of look into what to do with PR. So like if you're speaking to either a, I guess, business owner or a team member, like what would you say to focus on or how to find that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So I think the worst thing you can do is to be really, really broad. We're
Yeah.
good for everyone because we do all these 25 things. I think that is the worst thing you could do. I think the more like kind of niche that you go and more targeted around who that persona is, what are they looking for, and go really specific to that. And you might have five of those personas, but really be really clear on like who's the customer that's going to benefit from this. What are the problems that they have that we're solving? And think really specifically. I would start there. And then from there, like what makes you better at solving that problem than, what else is on the market? For us, these are things like the fact that Pvolve is clinically proven. We have clinical studies that prove the efficacy of this business. That's really distinct. That's really hard to do. So what are the things in your business that make you distinct and better than the other people on the market in similar businesses?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So when people are, coming up with that unique selling point, then what would you say their next step is? Like now that they figured this out, where would they go from here? And it might look different for different businesses, but what would you say is step number 2, I guess?
Messaging. So what
Yeah,
are the unique hooks? What are the interesting hooks that deliver against that?
I love that.
And that's where someone like me, as like the brand person, that's really where identifying what those things are, and then how do we hit the consumer in a really interesting way to convey that.
Yeah. So with Pvolve, can you give us more of like an example of how you use that? Maybe like a specific, and maybe it was around like the turning point of the business. So actually, that would be a good thing to talk about. So when was the turning
There is
point
one big turning point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell us about the turning point.
The turning point. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, just to be clear, we are a startup. Like, I want to make
Yeah,
that very, very clear. Like, we might look like we're a big, fancy. We are a startup. We are very fast-paced, quick-moving, nimble startup for sure. And so to say that having Jennifer Aniston call you was a big day for our business would be an understatement. It would be a big day for just about anyone's business, but we are a small startup. And it really did come about like completely organically. She had fallen in love with the workout over COVID and just like saw that it really solved something that no other workout had solved for her. And, she is certainly someone who is very well regarded and well, in the know when it comes to workouts. And so she was just like, you guys are doing something amazing, and more people should know about you because I think you can help a lot of people and I can help. So that was definitely kind of a rebirth for this business. Um, but I do want to make it clear that while that transformed our business as it relates to all of a sudden people had heard of us. Like I was there pre-gen and post-gen, and I used to be like, yeah, I work for this company, Pvolve, and people are like, oh, like what is that? And now like those conversations have turned. Certainly, like a lot more people are like, oh, Jennifer Aniston's workout, yeah, yeah, which is really fun to watch. But there is no magic bullet, and like Jen was not a magic bullet. We have had to do a lot of work to make sure that we as a business, as a brand, are like able to really capitalize on the power that Jen brings. She drives a lot of people to understand who we are, to know who we are, to trust. But you know, Jen alone giving the thumbs up is not necessarily enough for people to just be like, great, I'm happy to now start this workout and buy, this big equipment bundle and just like sign up for a fitness, thing that I'm supposed to do every day. Like that's just one piece of it. There's a lot of other components that really have to all line up for a customer to make that big decision to click to buy.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think with business in general, like there's pieces where when you start, you have like maybe social media or whatever your like warm leads are, and then you're going to move over to more marketing efforts and PR. And then once you get to bigger perspectives of like trying to like, I guess, do different strategies, you realize how everything is just a piece of the puzzle to get to your next level. And it's all a business growth strategy. There's not one, magic bullet like what you mentioned. So I hear this a ton where people will say, like, oh my God, they were an overnight success. But there's so much that leads into becoming that overnight success. It's like maybe, a ton of people did hear about Pvolve because Jennifer Aniston, but leading up to that, like, there had to have been some sort of exposure for her to see it, fall in love with it, and then reach out to the brand. So, what was that strategy before Jennifer Aniston? So, I guess, like, what is it? We say, like, B Jennifer An like BC.
Yeah, exactly. So before Jen, honestly, like we were really just like delivering an exceptional workout day in and day out. Like
Yeah.
I think like it starts with the product, and we have an amazing product. We have a really amazing workout with our own patented and proprietary equipment that no one else does. And so it just like that's really where it starts, is like doing something great and distinct and that people will buy. We then had the benefit of COVID, which I hate to put it that way. COVID was a tough time for many people and businesses. For a business that at that time was mostly at home fitness, that really
Yeah.
was a big launch pad for us. So sometimes like timing, et cetera, just strikes, and that certainly helped our business. Um, but again, it really comes down to like an exceptional product that people that people want to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's like coming into, I guess, just like good business practices. It's like, how can you be the best at what you're good at, that niche, and
Yeah.
then eventually things will fall into place with the right strategies.
We
So,
did still rely a lot, like I said, on earned media and influencers.
yeah.
Influencer has been like a big part of our business from the beginning. And I want to be clear that that doesn't necessarily look like big celebrity endorsements or paying at all. It's really like DMing people and being like,
Yeah.
hey, we've got this. Like, have you heard of Pvolve? It's this amazing workout. We'd love to send you some equipment to try, like, and the other thing to know with a product like ours, which is not a single transaction. It is not a lipstick that you're like, oh, I like that color. I will buy it. This is like a very considered purchase. Can I see myself doing this workout? Am I cool with getting a monthly charge on my credit card every single day, every single month? It's a very considered purchase. And so you have to really go wide when it comes to influencer to get returns. So like we would send product and sometimes wouldn't hear, or sometimes it would be a month later that they finally post, or 2 months later because they weren't, they were traveling, and then they finally got to it, and then they finally, actually like turned on the workout and actually did it. So like these things are not are not quick turn, but they can be incredibly impactful. And so I would think, again, going back to like the USPs, the things that, who are the personas? What are the unique offerings of your business? And then find those people that can tell that story for you. I think the idea of like ubiquity of like everyone is doing it, everyone is using it, like how can you find those people in those swim lanes can help deliver this idea of like ubiquity.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And this is like the power of PR at the end of the day. It's basically like word of mouth. So it's like, how can you reach out to somebody else and then have them tell the story for you?
Mhm.
And in a way that's like a strong, impactful, and aligned story too. So, can you tell us about the PR strategy? You mentioned influencer. I think influencer campaigns can be very cool for the right brand, very good for the right brand. I also think that sometimes it can be a flop for certain brands, some product brands. And also influencers changing so much. Like it used to be that you could kind of like DM and you could get a lot of organic exposure, whereas now some influencers want to be paid. Like it's just the way that things are kind of moving. So I'm not sure if it's different for more of like workout classes versus like product, but what are you seeing, I guess? Maybe how did the strategy start and like what worked for Pvolve? And then in your opinion, do you think that influencer is still really powerful? Like what would you say for, I guess, like, you know, where we're going, I guess.
Yeah. So I'll start with PR just because I think
Yeah.
PR is just, it's a very credentializing medium. So like I think it's an incredibly important part to the overall mix because it is not paid for and it's from sources you consider to be, in the know. And so I think, when you think about what each of these channels do for you, I think like you should look at PR as something that should be in the mix as one that is helping to spread, more mass awareness from a credible source. So that's where I kind of put PR. Influencer, a changing game for sure, but one that is, I believe, only growing in terms of its relevancy. And I think there, again, it's about conveying this feeling of ubiquity. Everyone is talking about this thing and getting a diversity of voices in kind of, again, you've identified, okay, this is my product. This is what makes my product distinct. Here's who's using my product. Here's why. And then finding those people who can help you tell that story with like through their own lens and really going deep in each of those buckets to kind of, again, convey that feeling of ubiquity. And I know everyone says this, but like, influencer doesn't have to mean you've got 500,000 followers.
Yeah.
Like 30,000 followers in a space that's very, like someone that's like a key opinion leader in your space can be incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I think it's also great when you can find an influencer that may have multiple kind of touch points. Maybe they have a podcast, maybe they have a blog, maybe they're also an affiliate for you. Like if you can double, triple dip in these voices, even better.
Yeah. Gosh, I love that. You know, it's so interesting. You touched on influencer not being like, 500,000 followers. It could mean that they have a unique, like, niched audience. I am a publicist also full time. So I'm a publicist. We have Visibility on Purpose, where we teach business owners how to do this themselves. We have our YouTube channel. So I'm like in it all the time. I had one of my clients who got a feature in the New York Post, which was like huge, right? Like to say that you've been featured in the New York Post, but
Sure.
that exact same week, she got a feature on a smaller, quote unquote, smaller podcast. And she sent me a voice note and she was like, Lydia, I just want to let you know, like, I track everything that you do, or I try to, and it's hard to track PR in general. But she's like, I try to track everything that you do. And I'm so excited that I was on the New York Post. Like, I can't wait to put it on my website. But I got so many inquiries from that one podcast, and it's so interesting to me because New York Post has such a bigger audience, and so this is where we got to come in and kind of educate her on like it's all helping you, right? Like it's credentials. So exactly what you were saying, she's able to say now that she was featured on the New York Post. She can put that on her website. It's helping with SEO. It's helping with all of those things, but also I always say, like, do not sleep on the smaller communities because word of mouth, exactly like what you said, like if somebody can say, I really enjoyed this service, or maybe I really enjoyed listening to her on a podcast. So then I got the service, I enjoyed the service. They're going to tell how many people about this, and it just ends up being this like really cool domino effect. So what I'm seeing and what I have been seeing, and we talk a lot about this in Visibility on Purpose, but we talk a lot about like podcasting. We haven't really dove too much into like influencers, so I'd be interested to hear your perspective on like TikTok and Instagram and those places. But we'll talk a lot about how like the media is changing. Like people are becoming the media. I mean, TikTok also, I think, created like a huge turning point for this. Like podcasts were already doing it, but then TikTok became another platform for people to really blow up and share what they like on in their communities. But things are changing where it's like it's not just the publications like when we were kids and we read like Cosmopolitan magazine. Now there's so many different pockets, which I think opens up a potential for success with a lot of businesses, which is really cool.
I agree. And I think like different businesses, there's not one way to do it.
Yeah,
Different businesses, different sectors will have a different kind of formula. And so being comfortable with trying new mediums, we find podcasting, like when we have one of our executives on a podcast,
yeah,
we find that that is an incredibly powerful tool for us
yeah,
because we're a bit complicated. Our workout is like, it's different than other workouts. It's kind of hard to explain. It's got this whole clinical thing. Plus, you can experience us in studio and on demand, and we've got a lot to say. And so, and marketing, on Meta or on TikTok is not for the long form, right?
yeah.
Like that's about attention grab. And so when we get to sit down and actually do podcasts, we find that is incredibly effective for our business. And so it really like again, understanding your brand and understanding who your audience is, and then like testing into new channels and seeing the ones that can really be impactful for you.
Yeah, gosh, I love that. So speaking of how Pvolve is unique, I feel like every single time you're done speaking, I'm like, ah, I love that. I do. So thank you. But speaking of how Pvolve is unique, I personally have, okay, I sit at a computer, right? I work from home all day. And recently I've been looking into different like foundational trainings or like functional trainings that are going to help with just day to day. Like nobody talks about the long-term implications of work from home. Like I don't even think they like know what they are yet. But I noticed that like I am so much stiffer and movement is more and more important to me. I'm like, okay, I really need to like get into a better routine. So can you tell us about why Pvolve is different from other like workouts? Yeah, I want to hear from you. I'm like kind of like, giving a little inches towards what you're gonna say, but I'd love to hear.
Yeah, well, the way I like to describe it to people is it's kind of like a more dynamic Pilates.
Mm,
And what I mean by that is it shares a lot of the same principles in terms of like this like intentionality, this mind to muscle connection, a focus on the core, strengthening, lengthening. But we take that and we really kind of move it into 3D. So we move in all three planes of motion, which is pretty distinct, especially the rotational movements. And I love giving like these visuals of like deep
yeah.
rotations and angles. So we do a lot of like footwork in different angles and internal and external rotations, we call it, which really opens up your hips and improves mobility. So at the end of all of that, it's a workout that really brings together strength, mobility, and stability training all together to really create like this kind of perfect workout to improve both your physique, but also really build a body that stands the test of time.
Yeah, I love that. I did F45 for a little bit when I first moved down to Florida. And there is, I think it's great for the right person, but I ended up hurting myself. And I'm very athletic, I will say, like athletic in terms of like, I was a lifeguard when I was younger. I played field hockey all throughout high school. I've always ran, I've always walked, I've always like did something, intramural sports in college. And so for somebody who is like normally like an athletic person and goes and does these workouts, I noticed how how hard it was on my body. And I knew I wanted to do some sort of like training classes, but yeah, it's been like hard to find the right fit. I'm so excited to try this. I'm like, oh my goodness.
And do some stuff. And you got to go into the studio. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like at the end of the day, the best workout is the one you do, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever gets you going, gets you moving. Like movement is medicine, movement is amazing. I think Pvolve is incredibly form focused and
Mhm.
incredibly intentional in its programming in a way that just serves me better. I'll say I'm 39. I have three little kids. I'm in better shape than I've ever been. And it really is because of this workout. There's a reason I've been in fitness for, I don't know, 12 years. It's because I'm
Mhm.
obsessed with it. I've done everything. And I do think this is like the smartest and most really like sustainable workout.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in the intake form, thank you to your team for filling it out. You said turning organic media coverage into a long-term brand equity. I loved brand equity. I thought that was so sexy to say it. Can you please explain like what that means and how you can use this equity for the long term of a business?
Yeah, I mean, brand is everything. Brand is your reputation. Brand is trust. Brand is why I go for like this cereal or instead of that cereal, right? That is brand. So everything you do and don't do is either adding or detracting from your brand equity. And so for us, and like some of this, at every stage of a business, there's different levers and there are different priorities of things that matter more or less. But I would say brand is a little bit ever present in my opinion. It's a thing that takes time to build. And so you really want to think about it from the outset. So for us, like we're getting more and more into merch, for instance, as like a proxy for brands. Like people that love your brand, that love your business, they want to wear it.
Yeah.
Give them great crap to wear, so they can walk around and be a billboard for you. Like I always
Yeah.
say that to our executive team, like all I want to do is just like I live in New York. So like, I want to walk
Yeah.
down Madison Avenue and I just want to see people in Pvolve. Like that to me is how I know we're making it. So
Yeah. Gosh, my fiance is that person. We go to any local business. He is a walking billboard, and I think it's so funny. Like everywhere we go, he's like, "Oh, should I get a t-shirt?" And I'm like, "You know what? Get yourself a t-shirt. Get yourself a hat." But
he's
it
a good
really,
consumer. That's good. I like good consumers. I'm a good consumer.
yeah, he's such a good consumer, but it is true. Like when you really love a brand, you want to support it, you want to wear it and say like I'm associated with this brand. I say this a lot. Like when it comes to brands and PR and all of this, it's like you're building a community. Like when you think about even I always use Patagonia as an example, but like if you see somebody wearing Patagonia, you know immediately their values, you know that they're an outdoorsy person, they probably really love the environment. Like if you are similar to somebody who's wearing Patagonia, you're going to go up to them and be like, oh, cool shirt. Like, what are your values? What are your hobbies? Like, you just know already. So, yeah, I think it's
It's
so,
like tribal, right? Like
yes,
it's
tribal.
tribal. It's really like very like foundational and very human.
Yeah, gosh.
Soul Cycle like built the whole idea of it, right? They really leaned in hard, and I take a lot of inspo from what they did.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Gosh, this conversation was so much fun. Jill, thank you for joining us on Visibility Era. Can you tell us yeah, what's going on with Pvolve? I mean, anything that you can share, of course. I know you mentioned that there's potential. Would you say 80 locations, which is so exciting? Oh my goodness. Like when can we expect
Crazy.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 80 in development that will open over the next, 24 months.
Wow.
We're gearing up for a really crazy intense fall with a couple new launches and products. And then we always, go in big for New Year's. New Year's is
Yeah.
like our Super Bowl. And so we've got some really exciting stuff with our girl coming in New Year's as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be trying in studio very soon and looking out for what's happening with the brand. Thank you again, Jill, for joining us. This has been so much fun, so insightful. And thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast.
Thank you.